This is Gonzo here. I'm coming at you today with a little video. You see this right here? This is a Marlin 336C. It's in 35 Remington. It's empty. Everything's good to go on it. It's topped off with a Nikon Pro Staff. It's a 2-7 scope he's got on here. This is not my gun. This is a friend of mine. This is Pastor Josh. He's used this thing. He's killed quite a few deers with it. And this one was made in like 2014. So it's actually considered not just a Marlin. This is a Remlin. It's a Remington made Marlin firearm. And it was made after the retooling and everything at Remington, so it was made to a little better standards than when stuff was first moved to the Remington plant. There's a whole big story there. I won't go into all of it, but basically, when they moved Marlin to Remington, there was some disgruntled employees, of course, at Marlin, and they did not go with the plant, and so therefore some of the equipment might have been sabotaged and everything. But this is my 3030. It's also a Marlin 336. This is the CS instead of the C. The main difference is this has got the smooth stock, and the C down here, it has a checkered stock. That's really the only difference between the two. As far as this one's a 3030, this one's a 35 Remington, and this one was made years ago. This is when it was still at Marlin, when they was still at the top of their game. This has been a good gun. This is mine. I've shot this thing for years. Killed several deer with it. I've killed coyotes. I've killed groundhogs. Just uses as all around utility type gun, and it's done great for me. But basically, I just wanted to take a look at both of them, and just to see how Remington is doing now with the making of this gun. And so I'll probably just get the camera down here and pan over the guns and show you some of the similarities and maybe some differences and stuff like that. But I was going to do a comparison between the 35 Remington and the 3030, but that's not really a fair comparison. I've got some ballistic info right here that I've jotted down that I've gotten off the internet. Anybody can get this. Your 3030, if you use a 150 grain bullet in it at the muzzle, it's going to be around 2,390 feet per second with 1,902 pounds of energy, foot-pounds of energy. But at 100 yards, it's going to drop down to 2,040 feet per second with only 1,386 foot-pounds of energy. And at 200 yards, it's going to drop down all the way to 1,723 feet per second at 989 foot-pounds of energy. But if you go, that's with the 150 grain bullets. And if you go on up and move to the 170 grain bullets with these things, you're going to be looking at a muzzle velocity of 2,200 feet per second and 1,827 foot-pounds of energy, which is actually less than the 150 grain. And at 100 yards, you're going to drop down all the way to 1,895 and 1,355 foot-pounds of energy. So when you go on the 30-30 from the small bullet to the big bullet, you actually lose out on it. You don't get as much foot-pounds of energy or anything as you do with the smaller bullet, which doesn't seem right, but it's true. You lose foot-pounds of energy. Quite a few, as a matter of fact. At 200 yards, the 170 grain has dropped all the way down to 1,619 feet per second and 989 foot-pounds of energy, which is kind of funny because at 200 yards, they actually match up fairly close with the energy, which is not very much at 200 yards. 200 yards is about max for these guns, either one of them for that matter. Now, when you get to the 35 Remington, your muzzle velocity with a 150 grain bullet, your muzzle velocity would be 2,300, and it would only have 1,762 foot-pounds of energy. If you compare bullet for bullet, the 150 grains, the 30-30 beats out the 35 Remington at a 150 grain bullet. It doesn't seem like it would, but it does. And of course, when you get to the 100 yards, you drop down into the 1,874 feet per second and 1,169 foot-pounds. But when you get out to 200 with a 150 grain bullet and a 35 Remington, you're only shooting 1,506 feet per second and 755 foot-pounds of energy. Now, the thing about the 35 Remington is most of what you're going to find, you don't know if you can read it or not, is these 200 grain bullets. It's harder to find these 150 grain bullets in 35 Remington. And this is where the 35 Remington beats out the 30-30, and why I did not want to do a comparison between the two. But it's hard to find the 150 grains. You can find them. They're out there. You just got to go search for them and either that or order them or whatever, but you can get them. But 200 grains is where the 35 Remington really shines. Because the muzzle, you're only shooting 2,080 feet per second, but you're at 1,921 foot-pounds of energy. And the 100 yards, you drop significantly down to 1,698, and you maintain a 1,280 foot-pounds of energy. And at 200 yards, you're only 1,376, but you've got 841 foot-pounds of energy. And that seems kind of odd, but there's really, between the two, I wouldn't say there's a tremendous amount of difference between the two, except this one shoots the big bullet. This 35 Remington, it shoots a large bullet, and it's much better for stuff like black bear, deer, maybe even hogs. I don't know. I've never been hog hunting with anything like this, but I'm sure it would do a fine job. But you got the biggest thing is the size of the bullet and the hole that it's going to create. And it's going to bleed out faster, and things are going to give you a quicker chance of finding your deer or bear, whatever it is you shoot. The bigger hole equals more blood. But I know I've shot deer with this, and they didn't go very far, this 30-30. They always travel, but they don't travel too far. That's what I've always liked about that gun. It takes down what you want. It shoots good. This one shoots good. I've shot a few rounds out of it, and at 100 yards, you're pretty well right on. Josh has got this thing dialed in fairly well. I'm not going to do a lot of shooting with it today or anything because it's his, and I don't want to mess his gun up any. But I just really wanted to show the differences between the two. And with that, I'll grab the camera and we'll look at it a little bit up close. All right, here is the 35 Remington up close, and you can see it's got the nice checkered stock. It's fit fairly close right here. Just a slight little bit of a gap there, and it's kind of, the wood's a little higher than the metal, which that's not bad. He's fit this extender on the hammer. I like that. I'd like to have that on mine. I might get one of those for mine. This has got the gold trigger, and this one's got the stamp from where you can read with a IR reader. But basically, it's a fine looking weapon. It's got the shroud on the iron sights, which he's not using those at all. And if we look in the end right here, if I can get this without getting in it, You can see that the gap on both sides seems to be pretty close. Doesn't have a big, everything's put in squarely like it's supposed to. Okay, set this back down. Look back down here at the stock, and you got a pretty good fit right here. Everything's fitting really well. Your stock has got some good grain to it. It's a little scratched up, but he's been using it in the woods, and that's to be expected. There's your little white thing, that which means that he actually got the thing put in the right place here for a sling. Where, if you'll notice on mine over here, whoever put that in, put it in there. That's not where you're supposed to put that. You're supposed to put it back here like this is done. Now his is done correctly. And here at the base of the pistol grip, it looks fit pretty well. Everything's fit pretty well on this gun. That's one of the major complaints after Remington moved, was the fit and finish of the guns were really off. That's got just a little bit of a gap right there, but not much. And flip it over. Look at the base right here. Everything seems pretty good with the fit and finish on this thing. I can't complain too much right there. So I think Remington finally started getting it right with these guns, because that was the major complaint, was the fit and finish and the cycling action. And I can tell you, this thing cycles real well. So Remington's done a fine job getting this back in. Now, just to compare it with the old 336, here's my 3030. You got this fit and finish right here. It too has a slight raised up on area on the wood, that's fine. The main thing is it fits up nice and tight. And you got this here fits up good and tight. There's a slight raise on the stock pad, but it's fine. It fits nice. And here's what I was talking about with my sling mount. It's put in there. I did not do this. It was done. It's supposed to be back in here. Somebody put it there. That's not the way that's supposed to be done, but I didn't pay but $250 for this gun several years ago. My wife bought it for me. She'd paid $250, and that's a pretty good price. As you see, everything looks, there's a little bit of a gap on this one compared to that one. So this one, the fit and finish is actually, all in all, it's pretty close from the old to the new. If I can get that in the light better, where you can see this. That's pretty even all the way around there too. And this has not got the shrouded side. It's just got a regular open top thing here. So, but anyway, that's the two rifles compared with the on the fit and finish. And I can say that this new Remlin here appears to be in pretty decent shape, comparing it to the old Marlin. I'm not too terribly concerned about this. But I know a lot of people complained after they moved about the fit and finish and the cycling, and both seems to do really well with this new Remlin. So I think they got their act together and got everything right. And anyway, we might just take this thing out and fire a few rounds to it and see how it performs. A few shots with it, let you see how easy it cycles. Cycles real well. Take the caps off. So you You got to turn the safety off, people. Let's try that again. Knocked a far out of that steel target down there. This knocked it over. That's something else on this. It's got a little thing here. If that's not all the way up in there good, it will not fire. You got to press it in there. Okay. That's all of them, folks. But this is a good shooting little guy. And I can see it'd take me a little while to get used to the safeties on this newer model, especially that right there. Because all it takes is just a little, not even just doing it like that, it will not fire. No matter what, you got to pull it all the way in before it'll release. So you got to get used to that. But anyway, this is a good gun. I would suggest it if you want to get one. It's a nice gun. On this 35 Remington here, I rattled off a bunch of numbers and showed you the ballistics, and told you the ballistics. So basically, this 35 Remington, if you're going to be in the woods where you're going to take 30, 40, 50 yard shots, this is going to put the deer down way faster than the 30-30. Either one's going to do a great job, especially at close range. But this one, you're going to go through little twigs and sticks. You're going to knock that deer down. It's not going to deflect any. It's a good brush gun. That's what it's for. And that's what Josh uses this for. If he's hunting fields and stuff, he's got other guns he uses. But when he's going into the woods, he takes this right here with him. And so far, I've been pretty impressed with the fit and finish on this gun. I love the way it shoots. I've got to get used to it. My old 30-30's got this, but it just seems like this one, you got to pull it a little harder to get it sealed up in there on that little safety right here. And they both have a through tang safety, but as far as I can recall, I don't remember ever having my 30-30s on safe. I do right now, but when I take it out, that's the first thing I do, I think, is just turn the safety off, because that thing will get me every time. But as long as you got it sitting right here on your half cock, that doesn't do you, it doesn't matter, because it's not going to pull the trigger anyway when you put it on half cock, and then all you got to do is boom, you're ready to fire. That's the good thing about these. You can just pull it there to that half cock, and that's another added safety. But anyway, that should conclude anything that I needed to show you on these. I just added this on because I wanted to make sure. I never really mentioned that this was used for a brush gun, and that's basically what they are. They're a larger bore, and they go through the sticks and brush a lot better than the smaller bullet, and they have more knockdown power at short range. You get out to the longer range, they drop significantly. So anytime you get outside the woods, I would prefer the 30-30 over this. You get inside the woods, I would prefer the 35 Remington over the 30-30. That's pretty much my take on the two. But either one, whatever you choose, I'm sure you're going to enjoy one of these Marlin 336s. Just be careful. If you're buying one of the more recent ones, if you buy anything between, say, 2008 and 2014, you're going to look at having some issues, because of that's when Remington did their when Marlin did move to Remington, I should say. And so anything pretty much after 2014, after Remington retooled their plant and they got their engineering right, it seems to be, at least with this one anyway, this is my experience with this gun. This is a fine gun. It does what it's supposed to, and I would buy it, and I would thoroughly enjoy it too, especially like this Nikon Pro Staff scope. That's pretty sweet little scope. I like it pretty good. All right, folks, thank you.